Welcome back to another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Richard Thompson. Today, I'm joined by Ava Black, professional netballer for the Sunshine Coast Lightning and one of the most exciting young athletes to watch in the Suncorp Super Netball League. Ava's journey is incredible. From growing up on a farm near Toowoomba, sacrificing normal teenage life to chase a dream, earning her spot in a professional netball team, and then facing the devastating setback of an ACL injury just as momentum was building. In this episode, we talk about resilience, identity beyond sport, and the grind behind elite performance. Whether you're chasing a dream or navigating setbacks, this conversation is for you. All right, let's get into it. Ava Black, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You are professional netballer for the Sunshine Coast Lightning, midfield. You
Midfield.
are in a recent article by Fox Sports as the top 10 athletes to watch in this year's season.
There you go.
Lots to unpack, and particularly about what you had to endure last year as well. And you're only relatively new to professional netball. Take me back before the spotlight hit on you. Toowoomba girl.
Yes.
How did that look growing up?
Born and bred Toowoomba. Family actually on a farm, so we're a little bit west in Oakey.
Okay.
And very much 4 of us kids, all very, very sporty. If one was going into town, all were going into town. And if one was leaving, all were leaving. So that organisation piece was like massive. But it probably also brought a really sense of we all loved sport because we were all either playing it in the afternoon or we had a commitment to be present in whatever sport we chose to do. So growing up, before I hit the professional sporting light, it was sport. All day long. I was thinking about it all the time. Even in class, I was probably the kid you may be able to relate to, although I think being in a law firm, you've probably been able to set some good organisation skills. But for me, it was very much I'd be in class and, I was just always looking out to the oval and I was like, I just would love to be running around, loved being creative.
What sports are we talking growing up?
Oh, honestly,
Everything.
What didn't I play? And my dad was a really big piece in that, and he was a really good rugby player, athletics. I played a lot of touch footy and netball. I did even on the other side of athletics, like cross country was massive. Dad would have us training all the time. We have an airstrip at home, so it was like up and down, up and down. It was a good little track. Played a bit of volleyball. Basketball I loved, but not for the school itself. It was probably a bit more of a outside sort of hobby. And yeah, just probably really tried to dabble in every single thing and sort of realised when I was about 12 or 13 that I was starting to push 6 foot. So rugby sevens and things like that became a little bit harder because I was always such a lean, lanky, tall athlete. So started to realise that maybe my advantage was more of an aerial game, still with that passing focus, but yeah, a bit more in the air and using my height. So netball definitely started to pave a way, even at 12.
I would have thought it's at under 12s at 6 foot, you had some sort of advantage.
No, definitely. I think mum sort of realised, even though I was in the midfields, I was still centre, wing attack, wing defence, which is...
You weren't just throwing in the goals either
honestly,
side.
They tried to. They were like, you're in the wrong position here, but I could run and I loved to run, so I was very fit. So, yeah, I could use that height as a centre and, try and keep that as an advantage, but just loved it. I think like anyone who's really passionate about sport, like you've just got to be obsessed with it. And honestly, from start, that's exactly how it was for me.
Your siblings tall timbers as well, or?
It's funny actually. So I'm 1 and 4. My 2 younger brothers are all taller than me, so they're about 6'2", 6'3", and my older sister is barely pushing like 5 foot.
Oh.
So she's like, she says all the time, she's like, I don't know how this happened. Mum and dad are both very tall as well.
Right.
So she got the tough gig there. But yeah, for her it was more rugby, so she was really strong. She didn't have to be super tall, and
Got it.
Yeah, found her advantage too.
And then when did the screws turn for you in terms of going through high school and when you were like when you are focusing more on netball and when you're like, this could be a pathway?
Yeah, I think when I was 12, I actually made my first Queensland team, which, as I said, kind of when you're 12, you're still trying to figure out, do I even want to play the sport? Is it my number one? But I think when I sort of athletically got to that point at that high level then, I was like, okay, like I'm in the Queensland school sports system. technically from here, I've got my name out. There's a pathway for me. Let's dabble into this a bit more. And up until pretty much from 12 to 15, when I was 15, I made my first semi-professional side. So basically you've got Suncorp Super Netball, which is the best league in the world and here in Australia. And then under that, you've got your feeding for each state. So ours is the Queensland Sapphire Series here. And at 15, I was playing for Bond University on the Gold Coast. So you can imagine from Toowoomba to Gold Coast.
Still being based in Toowoomba?
Still being based in Toowoomba. Twice to 3 times a week, including a game, I would be tripping from Gold Coast to Toowoomba, leaving school at 2:30, getting home literally at midnight, hoping with good traffic. 9 times out of 10, that traffic was never great. And that was kind of where I started to go, how badly do I want this? Because there's a lot of sacrifice coming into this. And pretty much at 15, it was like, all right.
Because at 15, or any 15-year-old, particularly for women, that's a pretty delicate time of your life in terms of social structures. And I was only speaking to this to my youngest last night about how there's this drive as an adolescent to fit in and not be a standout, not be different, right? Yeah. So there's this balance, this like, I guess this predicament of wanting to be your authentic self and going, this is my calling. Yeah. And then you becoming the outlier of, well, you're getting pulled from school because you're special. And then was there a difficult period of time?
So much. And I really love that we've touched on this because I think more so now, I'm 22, I'm still very young, but I've had that time to reflect since coming out of school. And when I was 15, I say to my parents all the time, I was like, gosh, I was tough to work with. I'm sorry, I was tough. Because that balance of not seeing the big picture, you've got a goal. I want to play professional netball. I cannot see myself doing that right now at 15. It's still a dream right now. And that other piece of missing out on time with friends, school time, feeling like even in social groups that I'm not really part of something because I'm not available on weekends, not available for the after 9 school hangouts, which usually is sometimes where most of the social part happens. You're either going to play school sport together and I just had advanced completely past that. And you would have related to that as well, that once your sort of career sort of past just, average sort of school activities, it was a lot higher intensity and you were traveling with people probably older than you.
Yeah, I was going to say what was the average age in the Bond team?
Oh, like mid-20s.
Yeah,
like
it was a 15-year-old kid who is missing out on that social structure, that's the hierarchy, and then you get thrown back into school the next morning and you're tired and you've missed out on
everything. Yeah, even just the dealing with mid-20s, but also that real pressure on the sporting end, you know that you've got a lot of potential, you've got a lot of athletic ability, but that maturity and all of that headspace stuff, that still needs a lot of work. And so constantly, even that trip down, it's mum and I really working through that mental work that my mum did a really good job with. And I became really passionate about probably when I was 15 that makes you really interested. And sometimes it can be a bit, I don't know, cliche when you listen to the Kobe Bryant or, all the Michael Jordan stuff. But I really became really passionate in figuring out, okay, well, how badly do I want this? And how badly do I actually want to understand the importance of where I'm at right now as a 15-year-old to actually be able to level up and play with these 24-year-olds and deal with my own age group when I come back the next day and still enjoy school and try and still enjoy being a 15-year-old. It was definitely hard to balance for sure.
But you can reflect by saying you had that awareness at 15?
I think I had that awareness because I had a really good support from my mum. But at the same time, I think now I reflect and I go, I think I was very harsh in thinking that I got the worst end because I wasn't able to experience, stuff with my friends. I sacrificed a lot. But now I look at it and I'm like, I would never change that. I would have never complained now looking at it I would have taken those trips every weekend and knowing what I get to live, the lifestyle that I live now. So
it's fair to say that people in all areas of success look at the person and go, wow, you're 22 and you're playing professional netball, but don't want to sacrifice, don't want to go through that 5 years of, or certainly 4 years of really hard high school work where you've had to miss out on every party, miss out on every social structure. And I think that that's something that's, you know, we're all growing and we're all improving in our own mindset and our own pathway and journey. But 15, you know nothing.
No, we don't know anything.
And who you are now compared to at 16 is different. And you're managing to socially sort yourself out on court and in training with 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds. You imagine if, you know, you're at 22 now, if a 15-year-old turned up at training, you know, and it's like, of course I'm better than you, you know, and so you got all that pressure. And so, how did your mum, what was her strategy? Was it, have you talked to her post?
Yeah, we have a laugh about it now. We laugh a lot because a lot of the time it's around that joke of like, gosh, I was tough at 15, you know. But I think mum had a really good understanding and, you know, even you sort of touched on it before, like at 15, more so for girls than boys, there's this massive dropout in sport. Like I think we lose over like 50% just to the age of 15.
Why do you think that is?
Girls really, I think, in that transition part of becoming a woman, I think they really take a step back. And a lot of the time in my experience working with some girls, it can come from either a lack of social understanding. So sometimes for sport for them, they don't really see the social aspect of it, or the high intensity aspect they don't really see. And, you know, you can even go through a bit more of the body image side. They just really kind of take a step back from challenging themselves or wanting to be physical, wanting to be aggressive. They just completely kind of lose, I don't know whether the word is interest, but they lose that drive, I think, is probably a bit more. I find that a lot of girls are still passionate about sport. They'll go and watch maybe the boys playing rugby or, you know, they'll go and support other people playing sport. But for themselves, they really lose that drive. And you know what, like probably actually sitting here, I reckon there's probably 50% of me that can kind of understand it. And then the other 50% where I can't, because personally it never crossed my mind. But yeah, it is quite sad that you see so many take a step back. And I think my mum really knew that that was the case for a lot of my friends. You know, for them it was more, I'd rather socially hang out.
And give in to that pressure of being the normal.
Yes.
Being the community, being the same as everyone else in my group. And not be the outlier. Because there's so much pressure to be the outlier, but in any form of life, you know, but let alone those precarious years of adolescence.
Yeah, definitely. I think my mum really saw the change with all my friendship groups that was happening. And yeah, I just think that if I didn't have the opportunity to be playing semi-professional at 15, you know, I wonder for myself if I didn't have all these opportunities, would that have happened to me? I would have slowly gone with the norm and faded out. So I think there's a part of it for girls where you've got to really keep them invested, keep them driven to understanding that, like, you know, we can get your performance from here to here.
It sounds, I think the recipe of you need a really good work ethic, which obviously sounds like you always had. And I think it's important to have carrots of success along the way. You sounds like from 12, making the state team, you've had that. But in that period of time in your teenage years, were there any events or junctions where you were like doubting the path?
Yep, definitely. It's actually a little bit later. So when I was 17, just before I sort of graduated, I was 17 when I graduated. I remember the first year of grade 12, kind of the back end of grade 11 being really difficult. I'd been playing probably in the Sapphire Series for 2 years now, and not that it was stagnant. I was very much improving. I was still in the Queensland 19 side and the 17s pathway, but I just kind of had felt a little bit like, well, my last year of grade 12, I was starting to feel that social aspect a little bit more heightened. I really probably struggled with, those social situations and feeling like I wasn't being able to live a life outside of netball. And I feel like maybe that high intensity of that sporting world really got to me. And it was probably the same thing as we spoke about before. The dream was still too far. So I wasn't Suncorp Super Netball ready. I wasn't a training partner with a Suncorp Super Netball side yet. So I was in that transition of leaving school, my last hurrah, and feeling like, do I actually want to keep doing this? Because so much of my life is being sacrificed for this. So I definitely probably hit a point there where I actually said to mum, like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. Like, I think I need to start really planning for my plan B. I think I just really want to enjoy some time with my friends and like live a normal life. And as I said, like saying that out loud now sounds crazy because, gosh, where I am now, I would never have even.
Yeah, but I think it's obviously so understandable at year 12, particularly when that pressure of, and everyone's talking about, well, what's happening next, and you're on the same path that you've been on since you were 12.
Yeah.
How did you get through that?
Yeah, Mum was actually quite firm with me. I think and it wasn't in a sense of guilt tripping, but I think I knew myself that there was a lot of sacrifice that went into this. So, Mum said, like, since you were 15, I've been down on that highway with you 3 times a week to the Gold Coast for this dream that you see. I know you can do it. Yeah. And it was pressure, but it was also a reminder of it's not just me and my decision here. I've actually got a few people on board that are really invested that I can make it. Yeah.
Emotional stakeholders.
Oh, yes. That really kind of kept me accountable. And, yeah, like maybe for some kids as well, they don't have that extra piece that's keeping them on top of it. And, there is a balance where it's not over-consuming. I never felt like it was Mum completely drilling me all the time where I felt suffocated to just do this. But it was that gentle reminder and that extra emotional piece that, like, I'm really sacrificing a lot here too. She was pretty much a full-time Uber driver to just get me where I needed to go. And, I remember one of the chats she had with me actually when I was like 17, and she said, there's been many nights where I've got 3 other kids where I haven't been with them, and I've got a husband as well that I'm also sacrificing that time with.
12?
This was the chat, and it was pretty deep. There was definitely some tears involved, but it was definitely one of those chats where I actually remember I reflected and I was like, damn, like I've really taken this spotlight from my other siblings as well. And they've really, my eldest who's having her first year in uni, like I've really taken that spotlight away from her first year and my brother's coming through. So, yeah, I did have that sort of reflection piece around, okay, like there's more people involved here. Let's get a wriggle on and stay aligned with what you want.
How does Mum feel now?
She's very excited. She's a big netball fan, but I think in general a big sporting fan. She's very much a very strong, driven lady, and she's always said as well for sport, it's more than just getting on court. It is a business. How you are branding yourself, how you step into the environment in the public, how you like treat and have that relationship with fans. Like it's all the big piece, and that's what makes you really marketable, but also really good entertainment. And I think I really learnt that from a young age from her around, okay, how else can I really build myself outside of sport but within the sporting grounds to be more, I guess, valuable as well as just being a great athlete on court.
Are those lessons being instilled at 15?
Yeah, I reckon. Wow. Yeah, I
because
think
there's an element of thinking, well, once I make it, then I'll do the whole branding piece. But if that's been instilled
it's very hard to do that.
On,
yeah. 15, I think when you kind of go into a Queensland side, and you'd have been the same when you were competing and you've got all these other athletes that are next to you, and sometimes it is we're all good. We're all very worthy to be here. Who's going to show those extra qualities of like whether it's a leadership style or, you're really branding and you're passionate about the sport, like it is really important. And yeah, she was very, very heavy and very strong in that.
Sounds like a force.
She is a force. She is definitely a force.
Yeah, unreal. Hey team, just popping in to say thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the episode, please take a second to like or follow the show and share it with a friend. It's the best way to help us grow and keep bringing you more great content. All right, let's get back into it. When is the first time that you get this sort of pathway to the Sunshine Coast?
So graduated when I was 17, did Bond University for a year and pretty much had half a season there and started having conversations around a training partner contract up here with the Sunshine Coast Lightning. Probably one of those things where I had a really good dose of player management, agency, and having someone represent you was really crucial. I was doing it myself at the time, and so I had put an interest in saying, I'm really keen. I sent an email. I was like, I really want to be involved in this environment. I knew personally that if you just put me in there, I'll show you what I can do. Like I just need to be exposed. I felt like that was the next thing for me. And the head coach at the time, Carly Byrne, gave me a ring, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, I was at home and I was like, oh gosh, I don't even know what she's going to say. And she gave me a ring, and all the first questions was nothing about netball. It was all just like, tell me about where you live, who your family is, just very much like,
Who you are.
tell me about yourself. And I remember at the time thinking, this is so intimidating. Like I was fully ready to prep myself to just, this is what I play. This is how I play. This is how good I am.
Stats.
Here's some stats. Here's my highlights. And she was fully like, no, I want to know about you and your family. And what type of person are you going to be when I bring you into this club? You know, you're very young, 17. So I'm looking at, you know, how you speak now, how you speak for yourself in 5 years' time. This is going to be whether you're a good fit for us. And had that conversation, clearly went really well with her and still got a really good relationship with her as well, and picked me up, came down to the Lightning for my first year. And I'm sure you can imagine, as a 17-year-old in a very high intensity environment, a very successful club, one of the most successful clubs, I was absolutely so scared. I was very intimidated, felt a little bit out of my depth, but more from an age experience point of view, not from a point of view of thinking I can't nail this.
Even though you've been 15 for a couple of years.
Even though I was 15 in the semi-professional, I think you just hold the top end so highly. And I think it was just being in the room with some of those really world-time famous players where you're like, I cannot believe I'm even looking or having a conversation with you. I'm used to being in the stands and idolizing you on TV. So that was really weird. And I think definitely took a lot of that pressure and extra expectations, probably more than they needed to be at the time. But that first year was just being a sponge. Everything they said, if you can be available, which is quite common as a training partner, I was there.
Yeah.
If you want to, I was there. You know, training partners, you're not needed. I'm still on the phone like, do you need a person? Even if it's at the back line, I'm there. And I really think that is what actually genuinely got me into the starting side. I think it was just may not have been the best player.
It's the Kobe Bryant.
It's the Kobe Bryant. Like, if I'm here, I know your language.
First to arrive, last to leave. Yeah.
Exactly. If I know your language and maybe you're not confident that I can do the job, but you're like, she knows the structures, she's here at every single event, then you'll put me in.
Mm-hmm. Give you every opportunity.
Every single opportunity. And so that was what I told myself as well before I went in there. It was like, if you just put me in that environment, I will show you that, like, I'll be an absolute sponge and I'll learn it along the way. So that's kind of where it kicked off, and then did training partner for 2 years. Very quickly had a lot of Suncorp Super Netball game time, whether it was preseason matches or maybe a call in for some injuries. And then literally one of our players, Shannon Eaglin at the time, went down with an ACL rupture, and she kind of looked around and she was like, I don't think you're ready, but we're going to trial this. And I just remember being like, oh God, like, this is my opportunity. This is, I've got to take this with two hands. And as soon as she put me on for my debut, I just went absolutely ham, cleaned up as much ball as I could.
That was 2023?
Yes, 2023.
Yeah.
And then from there, she was like, all right, okay, I think you can handle this. So we'll just keep testing and see how you go. So had the remainder of the season with them in the 10, and then, got a contract the year after.
24.
Yeah, for 2024.
Up until that point, so you'd be 20 then?
Yes, 20, yeah.
Okay, so for the last 8 years, you have focused everything into your life, a couple of hard conversations with mum, but to this goal of becoming a professional netballer in the Suncorp League, then you're there. Crazy. Talk to me about the feelings.
Gosh, I think it's like one of those things where, and you would have definitely relate to this, when you hold it in so high regard and it just seems like it's impossible, it's this dream, it's up here. I remember when I first ran out and I was like, oh, I do this every day. This is like an office job. Like, I do this every single day.
This is just netball.
This is just netball. What am I so worried about? All of the extra expectations, where you've held it, the highest of standards, like, it kind of just drops a little bit and you go, I'm comfortable. Like, I can do this. And that was the biggest realization, was when I was debuting and I was on the bench and I was so nervous. I thought I was going to vomit. And then I got out there and I was like, I literally could almost laugh because of this is so comfortable and I do this all the time. So that was something at the start that I remember so vividly being so different. And
was it a letdown?
Not a letdown. If anything, it was really comfortable.
It was a relief.
But maybe in a sense that a really eye-opening experience, that all of the work you do and how much focus in your own head you put into this and pressure and nerves, kind of not really not worth it, but essentially, like, why are you doing that to yourself? Like, you don't need to.
It's overs.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, that was probably definitely too much than what actually was needed. But once again, until you actually are out there and in that moment, that's where you realise.
Was the drive to do it as a job, or was it to play netball at the highest level? Because, what was driving you?
Great question.
Where did you arrive at and go, I'm here?
I love this question even more so from a point of, for netball, it's never really been about $1 million contract. It's never been like when you play SSN, you're sweet for life. That's your one job. That's all your worries. It's always been, and for a lot of women's sports, that's almost your plan B option. It's your absolute obsessive number one priority, but you almost can't even look at it like that's your solely whole job. And definitely as a younger age, I knew that, like, my parents would also tell me, like, Dad's a businessman as well. So he was constantly like, okay, there's not a lot of money in netball. So what else are you doing? And
Golf.
Remember, exactly. Golf, let's like
Tennis.
take a pivot. Yeah, tennis.
Come on, Ava.
So I think I definitely had that idea that I'd love this as a full-time job. I really understand that it is probably more of an obsession and a hobby, which is kind of a little bit sad as a young one where you kind of have that. I know that, I had a lot of mates that wanted to play professional rugby, and for them it was like, that's my job. Like, that's what I want to do. Don't ask me what else I want to do. Whereas for me, it was definitely like, what else you got? And you clearly would have been the exact same as well. It's like whatever your sport can really produce and the platform that they've got to be able to really hold that full-time work and for a very, 10-year career, for that's best case scenario. So definitely I think coming in, it wasn't, that's my full-time job aspiration. And I'm very lucky with the work that the netballers have done before me that now it can be. Like, it's minimum wage for netball now is around that $50K. So I know it's still got a very long way to go, but, players can be pushing beyond that if you're an international star. Big, big money. So it is still a working ground and trying to get that minimum wage up to make it feel like you can do this. Yes, as a career path. But yeah, definitely probably coming through the ranks, it felt like it was more of a hobby than a career path, I would say.
What was driving you is just to play better netball?
What was driving me was just obsession. Like, it was just absolutely, even if my parents would say, or other people, and that's probably most of the time the conversations that I have with people is like, well, there's not a lot of money in netball, so what else are you doing? It's like, I love it. I'm genuinely obsessed with it. I get to wake up every single day and do something that I'm obsessed with. And, if you break it down even more, it's like I might do a court session for 2 hours in the morning, hit the gym for another hour and a half. Maybe I've got a few meetings in recovery time, but for the most part of that, I'm being an athlete and I'm recovering.
Yeah.
So it is a really cool lifestyle versus working, a big 9 to 5 and having to be on all the time physically. So I do see those components of wanting more money, but also understanding that, like, this is a great lifestyle and I'm really just enjoying being a sponge in
100%.
that lifestyle. So yeah, it's a tricky one when you look at it from many different perspectives, I think.
Then 2024, your first full year of contract. How do you reflect on that year?
I was so excited. I had one of the biggest preseasons. I was like, it's time to go. We're on. I remember the first game I played in that season after having a really, really good preseason was coming off the bench and then really played well in the back end of that game, injected really well, won some ball, was able to be really, I guess a great impact player. And then the week after that I was starting and I remember just being like, yeah, okay, this is really good. Like, this is my first year as a contracted athlete. Second game, round 2 in, and I'm starting.
Yeah.
Like, coach has clearly got some confidence and some faith that I can put out a really good like 60 minutes of play here, or even just a really good start to put some pressure on the opposition. And we actually ended up going down that game probably as a team. We were over there at West Coast Fever, and I don't know if you've been to RAC Arena, but it is like a big fishbowl. You can get to about, I think it's like 12 to 15,000 in there, and they do a really good job at selling it out almost every weekend, and that game was fully sold out. And just a big fishbowl. So you can have people at the top that are just looking down, and it was just absolutely like erupting with like noise. And so I don't think we really took that game too well. We probably didn't perform as well as we'd like to. And I remember after that, it was a pretty tough training week. And I was kind of feeling like that starting had kind of maybe played with my head then a little bit. Oh, like we didn't perform well. So maybe that, maybe I didn't do enough like as a starting player. And I remember mentally feeling a little bit like unsure of myself and where I was sitting in that team. And then the week after I wasn't starting and I benched the entire game. Not really due to there's probably 3 of us at the time that were probably benching, and the starting 7 did a really good job at holding that. They went into overtime and we ended up going down in that game as well. And the Monday after, I had top-ups and I went up for a ball and came down on my ankle and completely did everything I could possibly in there, and was told that you've probably got the next 4 to 6 weeks out. You really need a rest. You're a younger athlete. We're not going to push this. It was a bit of a higher ankle strain, so they were worried about a syndesmosis sort of injury, which would essentially mean surgery as well. So I just remember at the time being like, oh, God, like you go from 1 week starting, the week after to bench, now my opportunity's gone. Like, where does this sit me now? Like, first year, like I just felt so anxious and disappointed in myself. And I ended up having 4 weeks off, worked super hard to get back in that, 5th game after that. Probably took then the next 2 or 3 rounds trying to find my feet again. My ankle was still a little bit, I had it strapped and guarded up just to be able to be on court, but probably more mentally probably took a bit of a hit after having such a good preseason. And then I kind of towards the back end of the season came really strong. So my court time came back in. I was feeling really like myself again, super athletic, starting to read the play better. So that year was a little bit up and down, and I remember because towards the end I finished so strong and I was really doing well as an impact player coming in, getting a lot more minutes. Towards the end of the season, I was like, right, we're not having an off season. Like, we're coming in fully hard.
Jordan style.
Yeah, like I'm coming in super ready.
Pre-season starts tomorrow.
I'm not taking what I did this year. I felt like although I had a bit of court time towards the end, that wasn't my brand that I wanted to put out. And, I had a really good best mate at the time, she's still my best mate, but she wasn't in the Diamonds at the time, and she's the same age as me and Ash Irvin, and she just had an excelling year where she had great minutes, was a full-time player, got into the Diamond side, which is our Australian top team. And I just remember looking at that going like, oh my God, like this is the opportunities that I'm trying to, get to, and I want to be able to be in that position as well. So I just worked so hard in the off-season, worked so hard in pre-season, had a 2-week break, went away with the family, came back first week, coming back in. Last year, coming in with the group, starting the 2025 season. And after the second week of match play, I woke up. I was probably feeling a little bit tired, probably not myself, but nonetheless, I'm sure there's plenty of days where everyone's woken up and you're tired, you're not feeling it, but went for a ball, was a little bit probably a metre out behind and beside me of where I was trying to hit the circle edge. And when I jumped in the air, I actually thought about diving because I thought this is going to be really awkward. I don't know how to turn my body here. It all happened so fast, and put my leg out, was completely awkward. Bang, ACL rupture, knee gone. And I just remember like grabbing my knee and just being like, and the girls more so remind me, it's like you kind of screamed, but you were more so like, oh my God, like I'm done. Like everything I've just done, like all of this off season, like apparently I was just yapping about, no, like all of this running, all of this time, like I've worked so hard to just even be back in this position to, what I wanted.
Diamonds and
for my, like
everything.
Anything for a start, for a solid season behind my belt where I wasn't being interrupted.
The season's gone.
Completely gone. And I remember at the time, like my captain coming over, physio picked me up off the court and no one could even look at me. Like there's been a few ACL ruptures in that team. So any of the girls that have done them were just, hands in the ears, walking away. The coach just turned around and she was just like bawling. B was just like, I can't even, like she couldn't even address it. And I just went into the change room and I just remember doing the ACL lock and he was like, yeah, okay, look, like it's clearly not there. So we're going to go get a scan. And sitting in there, your next conversation is just like, all right, so looking at 13 months rehab journey here. I just remember sitting there just being like, my God, like 13 months, this all is happened so fast. You know, you blink and where you saw yourself, where you thought you saw yourself for the year versus where you're sitting right now in the surgery room. And it was just like devastating. I genuinely saw that year as a full write-off year. I didn't see any benefits coming from it. I saw it as a complete waste. I saw it as a year getting older and being, you know, less, I guess, profitable or valued because I was no longer that young pup in their first year. It was technically I'm contracted, but into my second year now. So saw it as a complete write-off year. And
how's the mindset?
Mate, I'm sure you can imagine with rehab, I think there's no better way to describe it than a wave where sometimes you wake up and you're like, you know what? You put your Michael Jordan, your Kobe Bryant edits on and you're like, we're on. Like, let's get up.
Give me a bench press.
Yeah, give me a bench press. I'm on. And then you get towards the end of the day and you're just looking at your knee and it's just completely like swollen. You can't even walk and you're just like bawling, frustrated, disappointment. I kept replaying the moment as well all the time in my head. Like I was in preseason. Did I need to go that hard? Why'd I go for that ball? Like take a chill out. Yeah. Like the coach had said to me probably 5 or so runs before that, like you're a bit fast today. Like, you know, take a step back. Like you don't need to be running that hard. And nonetheless, like, yeah, you just play that moment over and over. So I was really frustrated, probably maybe more than normal at the time. I probably thought that it was genuinely the end of the world. So that wave of just...
How did you get out of it?
Netball's really probably one of those sports where ACL injuries is really high. Ankle and knees is massive for us. I think, you know, us and AFL, soccer's probably another really big one, where ACL injuries are just, they come like this. So in my group at Sunshine Coast Lightning, just that year I had 4 or 5 girls just in my squad that had all done not 1 ACL but 2 ruptures. Gosh. So I was kind of surrounded by people that had walked the walk.
Support network.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that, I think, I realised was way bigger, not bigger, but offered something different in my support network because I was able to watch these girls go through what I went through and take bigger hits, bigger dodges, like be out there on court and just be nailing it. So I was kind of like, okay.
You can see the example of what the future looks like for you.
Definitely. Yeah. So I was kind of like, okay, this is reassuring, but it does not take away the fact that you're sitting there and you tick 1 week off and you're like, I have 13 months. 13 months.
54 more weeks, or 56 more weeks of these.
So that just did not sit well with me for a very long time, I think.
How long did it take you to accept it?
Oh, gosh. I think even to like 8 months when I was still not quite there, they're still so far away. It was still hard for me to see the end road. Until I could really see that end road, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm not really frustrated. Now I can actually feel like I've accomplished this. I can see it. It's so hard when you can't see it. And I think those thoughts as well as A, not being able to see the end goal, but also B, the end goal could be that I'm not the same player as I used to be, or the end goal could be that my knee actually doesn't get better, or I actually have to really adapt and change my whole entire game style. And, you know, for me in the midfield, midcourt, it's very much running, dodging, aerial, physical, like the knees do not get a break. You know, I'm not really kind of standing under the post where I can rely on my physical attribute to just hold. So I knew I was in a position where it was probably a little bit more vulnerable. I was requiring a lot more of my knees to hold up. So that was a real anxiety piece itself as well. Sure. It's like, cool, get through rehab, but also
am I ready?
Be a professional Suncorp Super Netball player and be in contention to be recontracted the year after. And so, yeah, that was definitely, that held on for, I reckon, like the good 6 to 8 months there.
At what point, and I don't know whether the answer is you're not there yet, did you turn it around as a positive?
You know what?
When did you turn it to a hero story?
After a month when I first did it, and we've kind of had this conversation as well around, you know, netballers having a plan B, plan A, and not being solely just around netball, and see this a lot for other athletes. And who have the biggest identity crisis, when they have an injury or when they get delisted, and it's like, who am I now without netball? And so I knew that was coming. I knew for me specifically that where my passion was marketing and was down that media line. So I really relied on jumping into that and finding that distraction and passion really early, and had these really good chats with mum as well around, okay, what does that look like action-wise? Who can you actually talk to? And jumped in on some KO commentary, jumped in on some like Fox and KO sports shows, and just really threw myself in there to be offering something that I was passionate about, but also still as an athlete away from the court.
Yeah, building your brand.
Building my brand, exactly.
And potentially that you wouldn't have that opportunity but for the injury, which funnily enough will probably sustain you in your career after the sport.
Definitely.
For much more.
It's one of those sayings, and sometimes it was really frustrating to hear at the start, like, you wait, you're going to have other things are going to present for you this year that you didn't ask for, but they're going to be there. And gosh, at the time I was like, I don't care. I just want to play. Like, come on. Like,
you don't know.
Come on. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just need to be out there. And oh my gosh, is that the truth?
Yeah.
What I have been able to achieve even just this year, I would never have had the time, probably would never have really had the right mental space to allow myself to fully be a sponge in something else that wasn't requiring my performance. I have done so much.
You would have thought in that media role with Fox, like attention outside of your lack on the court. You can focus on something else.
Definitely.
Still in the sport, still in the same area, but not sitting at home as a victim, not playing.
Victim is a big word too. I think realizing that it's so easy to get into that space of like, what was me, or even as we were saying before, like, you all don't understand until you've walked through it. I used to find that really like hard as a player, being a teammate, when I'd never gone through any serious long-term injury. And, you know, if someone had done something really bad, really finding it uncomfortable and how to support that. And in my head going, well, I haven't faced resilience if I haven't had a blowout injury that's made me really face resilience. And I reflect now and I go, yeah, this was really hard. This was really tough. I have faced resilience, but resilience is also way before that. And it was when I was 15.
100%. It's very easy when you're in the victim mentality to think,
oh, yeah,
people around me don't know. They can't relate because they haven't done a second ACL or they haven't done this plus losing their pet dog at the same time, or insert creative ways to say that my situation is unique.
Yep.
But like you just said so well, that resilience and dealing with hard is everyone has to do it.
Definitely.
And I think it's all relative as well to what you experience, but your resiliency is your teenage years going through. Yeah, for sure.
I reckon that's a really good thing from an athlete point of view to realize. I think it can be really hard to, even as you said, and it makes me think about Steph Curry. He did this really good speech and he was getting an award of probably some sort of MVP title. And he was just saying, like, you actually don't need to have a crazy story to be an exceptional athlete. You don't need to face 2 or 3 ACL ruptures. You don't have to be constantly injured to realize what hard work is and resilience. Like, you know, even as you said, you don't have to have a family member that you've lost that, you know, has made you realize who you are and, you know, how to be a good athlete. Like, you can actually just be a really strong athlete and not have that unique, exactly as you were saying, that background story behind it. And for me, I actually probably think that was my struggle before I did my ACL, was feeling like, like maybe my teammates don't think I work hard because I haven't experienced.
You've just had this linear progression of success.
Yeah. And, you know, my parents did a really good job at giving me these opportunities, like providing, like, you know, there's so many kids that mum would have just gone, I'm not driving you to the Gold Coast 3 times a week, mate. Like, suck it up. You've got to find
playing at the local club.
Something down here. You can play local. So I really was gifted and very privileged in creating those opportunities. But I think I saw that sometimes as a curse, that, like, you know, other people had it harder than me.
Do you think if you could identify your resiliency as a 15-year-old, that would have helped?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
But I also think it's proof is the pudding, and where, you know, through last year, you've been able to be resilient, find way bigger opportunities than sitting at home. You're back better than ever. Had you not had that, like that's evident for me. That's diagnostic that you've had that resiliency piece there the whole time in your adolescence, right? And so, yeah, it's super inspiring. And I think the rug is always going to be pulled from everyone at some point. Definitely. You're always going to deal with something.
That's it.
And it's just being able to, I like the idea of that people go, well, you may not identify what you've experienced that equals resiliency or that equals hardship or that equals sacrifice, but it's there.
Definitely.
It may not be subjectively comparable to somebody else's hard, but it's all relative. And you have the tools inside of you to deal with this last 13 months. That just shows. It gives you that extra strength.
And I think when I really did my knee and I think about how hard those training partner years were where, gosh, you're working for no money.
Yeah, I was going to say that for 2 years.
Mate, like for netball, it's literally like $5,000. That's a training partner. But you did that
partner. For 2 years, yeah?
2 years. That's a training partner gig
for
the entire year. No guarantee. You are breaking your back to be involved in something that is literally voluntary. Like you don't get paid to have this as even a part-time job, let alone full-time job like the other players. So when coach says you don't need to be here, but you can be, obviously you're going to go. But those grinding years of really like trying to work on top of that, you're out of home. So mum and dad are like, we can support, but you got to get a job. Like you're going to need to be a full-time job here outside of training. And on top of that was study and, being young, like I was 17, 18, I was like,
having a life as well.
Yeah, exactly. I want to have a life as well. So that, in my opinion, and I know this is really strong to say, ACL for 13 months rehab was incredibly tough. But those 2 years as a training partner was way harder. And it's not the loud injury. So people don't really check on you because it's not something that, is a big noisy, oh gosh, look what's happened to her. She's out for the entire year. No one checks in really on the training partners that are just grinding, are fit and healthy, but are just not getting the opportunity or the end result. So that is really tough. That's a really tough position to be in. And, for these 15-year-olds that are in school and they're not sure, they can't see the dream at the end, I think about myself at the same time. It's like, you just got to keep turning up. Like, you just got to keep turning up. You've got a few more years still of really hard grinding before that's even a potential opportunity as a training partner. So that's the tough grind. And I think we sometimes maybe as athletes, but also as viewers, we think that rehab injury is probably the toughest time. But I, in my experience, feel like it's the grind before you play professional that is really, really tough. And I hold a lot of respect for training partners, especially in our group, that are working full time. Some of them have been a training partner for 4 or 5 years. And they're sitting in that pool. They are fully content, like able to be in an SSN team. There's just not a spot. There's 8 teams, and you only got 10 players in each team. So 80 players
in the country,
in the best league in the world. 50% of that goes to imports, for our massive, big Jamaican stars and England and Kiwi stars. So it's really tough to actually get in. So I think that that's probably the hardest
Is
part.
there a path or is there an opportunity, knowing your experience and knowing that was the most challenging part, to create for the Suncorp Coast Lightning a more holistic well-being position for those?
We do such a good job at, I think netball's done a really good job in that mental health and well-being space, because from the very start, it's never just been netball. Like you've got to have a plan B. So we've got career advisors. We have people in there that are absolutely setting you up. As soon as you walk in as a training partner, come in, what's your passion? Yeah. Great, we're getting you in uni.
Yeah, okay.
Fabulous, we're getting you in. You're not uni? Okay, let's get you a part-time, full-time job. Where's that experience going? So I see a lot sometimes from the male sports that identity crisis post their career is sometimes they don't have a plan B. And speaking with some of them as well, it's like, some of them can get up to like $1 million contracts where that's an insane amount of money, but where is your direction and your career outside of that?
And at 26, you're now retired.
Exactly. Netball and women's sport we've never been able to be in a position where it's just that for us. So in a way, it's tough money-wise, but on the flip side of that, it's like you've got to have a plan B, and your career is ready for you when you're ready to step away from sport, or, you know, for a lot of us, it's like maternity leave. Yeah, ready for that next phase in their life. So, yeah, we do a really good job at that, especially here at Lightning.
We're a week away from the 2026 season.
Yeah,
How's the knee?
The knee is really good. Even as you were saying before, I'm actually PBing in everything right now. So even strength as a full is 40% better than I was last year. So jumping way higher,
ready to go,
moving a lot better. So I'm definitely ready to go.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. We've got a really good group. So I think the fans are probably more excited with the talent we've picked up this year. So
I really appreciate your time. I know, like you're just talking off air, how busy it's been with Fox and KO and the trips to Melbourne and all the things in lead up to the season, and the fact that you're playing in a week's time. So I really appreciate that for you coming in. Before you go, quick fire questions.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. What does success mean to you?
I think success is the reflection on the balance, the type of balance, especially in my life, that success looks like to me. So I've realised that success is not just netball. It's not just achievements. It is the marketing, my life, who I am outside of netball. So I think when you really realise what your passions are and not putting it all into one, that to me is success.
Brilliant. Happiness? What does happiness mean to you?
Finding a really good group of people that really support you. And, you know, we were saying this before, when you can build those relationships with people for a very long time, you know, 8 to 10 years who have been in your corner. For me, that just really achieves my overall happiness of like, I'm okay, I'm doing well, I've got great people around me that are supporting the direction and the successful pathway that I want to go with.
And people that genuinely feel your success is their success.
Genuine's a good word.
Massive.
It's hard to find, I think.
What does a normal morning routine look like?
At the moment, 6 a.m, wake up, probably very similar to you. Love anything active. So if I am training or if I'm not training, which most of the time I'm definitely training, it's having a nice sort of coffee before I start that, and then enjoying just being active sets me up for the perfect day.
Are you straight into the sport after that, or how does
usually
that varies?
Yeah, usually I'm court and gym every day except for a rest day. Like today I was up, I do a bit of coaching, bit of active run and recovery, and then straight into sort of appearances and stuff like this.
Yeah,
so
nice. This is going to be good. If there was a piece of advice you could give your younger self, what would it be?
To my 15-year-old
Let's
self?
say, yeah.
Great questions. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is how many bits of advice I would have loved to tell myself at 15. I think in a way it's kind of getting out of that victim mentality and really having a deep think on where do you actually want to be in 5 years' time, and trying to see the big picture there and follow through with it. It's that grinding aspect. And I think if I had someone like myself come and speak to me at 15 and tell me that, I think I would have snapped out of a lot of moments where I would have gone, this is too hard. I don't think I want this. But if I really had that direction and that piece from someone to sit down and go, in 5 years' time, where do you want to be? And you need to hold yourself accountable to that. It would have helped me in so many moments waking up where I would have been like, this isn't for me. So I think that's definitely what I would.
Brilliant. And then someone you know who you think would be a good guest.
Gosh, I'm a bit biased for netball, but I do think.
Second netballer on the show.
Oh gosh, who'd you get last time?
That person would be the second.
Oh, that person. I was going to say, oh gosh, I'm already second on the list. No, I think an incredible story that you'll also get alongside of massive achievements would be someone like Ash Irvin. She's similar age to me, but I think I've never met someone who's got such a unique passion for something so different outside of netball.
Okay.
She is a big fan of history and what she's studying in the government policies and stuff like that. Also, what she's achieved in the Australian team right now as a 22-year-old is quite unheard of. So, yeah, it's very humble, gentle giant, Ash Irvin. I would love to hear.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ava. It's been amazing. Good luck for the season.
Thank you.
We'll be courtside at some point.
Exactly. We'll get you some super seats. We'd love to have you there.
Can't wait. Yeah, bring it on, hey.
Thank you.
That was another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. Next time you're sitting courtside at a Lightning game, turn to the person next to you and tell them all about the show. It really means a lot. A huge thank you to Ava for sharing her journey so honestly, and especially through the tough moments that most people never see behind the scenes. If today's conversation resonated with you, the best thing you can do to support the podcast is subscribe, leave a comment, or share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Your support genuinely helps these stories reach more people. Until next time, peace.